Hello everyone and welcome back to Amnesia, a machine for pigs. So where we last left off, I wanted to say some things about our most recent note. I always go to my journal. Here we are, I believe this is the one. So obviously this is in reference to the grunt. It's the only thing it could be. And Oswald states, let's see here. Yeah, he chose men as the subjects of his experiments. Now I said that this could be Alexander rather than Daniel. However, Daniel did also experiment on people, I'm pretty sure, alongside Alexander during the week or two he was with Alexander. So I still think it's entirely possible it could have been Daniel. Because I very much doubt Alexander would have had any children, but or even had like a sibling that existed at that point. He may have had a sibling, but he or she would have existed in the other world. So I have a feeling that Oswald is a descendant of Hazel, which also means that he's related to Daniel. Hazel being Daniel's sister. However, whether she lives or not is also dependent on how you act in the game. Apparently, if you're bad and do bad things to other people in the game, or if you're just neutral, kind of similar to like Justine, with the save people or don't save them, then Hazel dies. The only way she lives is if you are good to people. So I assume this means that the only one the only ending where this game could continue from is the third ending where you save Agrippa, the benefactor ending. And I think that this would be proof for that ending being the canon ending. Because if Daniel being good is what causes his sister to live, then his sister would live on, have a family, and eventually it would lead down to Oswald. If not, if this isn't Daniel, if the great uncle isn't Daniel, of which Oswald is referring to, then the only other person he could be referring to is Alexander. But Alexander having a sibling on Earth, in the human world, that's really weird. And hard to believe. Still, I suppose anything's possible, but I always thought that this was Daniel, so I'm gonna stick with this being Daniel until I get proven otherwise, and if I do, I'll be sure to talk about that. Alongside that, Oswald seems to be impressed by the horrible creation, the disfigurement of the human body. He seems to be impressed by the grunt. However, he thinks pigs are a better use. Because that's what he's referring to here. Yeah, this new This new creature that he's referring to are pigs. Which he has a surplus of considering the business he's in. I find it interesting that he finds fault in the grunt because the grunt was perfect. The grunt listened to orders completely and was still very strong. And loyal. In the end, what did Alexander in was the shadow, not the grunt, so I'm not sure where he sees fault with them. But then again, he has a distaste for humanity to begin with, so And also the egg that the kids found, and also that the one that Oswald refers to, the stone egg, I'm pretty sure is the orb. And what's interesting about that is one of the kids says when you put your ear up next to it, you can hear the ocean. I don't know if the kid was referring to the egg still, I'm pretty sure he was. That would mean that for some reason ocean sounds come from the orb. It's also great seeing Oswald like discuss, not even discuss, examine, that's the word I'm looking for. It's nice to see him examine the body of the grunt. It's interesting, it's always interesting seeing like a third, like a second opinion, so to speak. Hearing someone else's perspective on the matter. As for now, that's all I can think to say of that note, but the reveal that Oswald is related to someone from the Dark Descent is incredible. And we never got a last name for Daniel. Not sure if we got a last name for Alexander either. Let's finish this conversation somewhere more safe. In the nest of eggs, the factory is quiet, now stumbling the alley. A wrench hung loosely from his hand, oil and grease dripping off it, looking like blood in the half-light. These loading screens are interesting, but I don't know what story they're telling exactly. Also, those people Mendes spoke of, the specially trained people, must be the pigs. That's what he used to build all of this. Not again. Not another elevator crashing. This is why you don't get elevators in horror games. How did I keep living through this? Daniel lived through the elevator crash, and it was a nasty crash. Boulders were everywhere. I mean, that was a wet cough that Oswald just made there. What if he just coughed out blood? How is he still alive? And him being the main character isn't a good enough excuse. I demand answers.
Quickly, Mandus. Find the entrance nearby. The children weep in the darkness, and the flood waters continue to rise.
He's definitely egging Oswald on a lot. There's a huge amount of urgency, but I don't know why this guy would have urgency for Oswald's children. Even if he is a dear friend. Though I suppose the urgency does make sense if he is a dear friend. I mean, of course he'd be worried for your friend's children, but still, there's too many unanswered questions. In order to facilitate assimilation of tissue groups, a compound is required, or the cells will not bond. Disposal of non-bonded subjects must be immediate and using incineration, or we risk continuous animation without form. This is unpleasant. A simple compound of 1 part Brennenberg infusion vitae to 1 part organ monod dispersal fluid is sufficient. This can then be administered intravenously to subjects following reassembly to maintain bonding. The compound is unstable and highly light reactive. Once in the body, the Schumann lamp can be used to activate the compound, but outside the body is highly corrosive. It can even destroy small quantities of metal. So that's our acid formula then, we need to keep that in mind. Now, as I was saying before, I don't know if we ever got Alexander's last name. I know we never got Daniel's last name, but if we got Alexander's last name, then that's a big step in the right direction. Because if I'm right, and oh dear, if I'm right, and Daniel is the great uncle of Oswald Mendes, then that means Daniel's confirmed last name is Mendes. Daniel Mendes. And of course, that would also mean Hazel's name is Hazel Mendes. Oh dear, I missed one. Sabotage. Bruised and battered, but alive. I have survived the saboteur's best efforts. He and I are now locked in an epic struggle, but I am driven to find my family, and I will prevail. Ignore the madness about me. Do not consider what cruel and unspeakable acts have been committed here. Find the way to the bridge, drain the flood, free your children. Maintenance access. There's clearly another passage behind the locked gates. It seems I have a choice of approach. The padlock is old, but firm, and after that fall, I cannot summon the strength to break it open. Perhaps I can find another way. So you're saying your bare hands could break this open if you didn't fall? I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure that's not just an excuse to protect your huge ego. Because come on, even if it is that old and rusted, would he really be able to break it with his bare hands? Then again, what do I know, right? I mean, this guy does a lot of heavy lifting and hard work. I'm sure he has a very strong body. It's some form of bizarre mixing device for chemical compounds, and it positively reeks of the foul fluids I have seen too often before. It is clearly a compound, some volatile of a two composite ingredients. I should wager I would find them close by. My FPS hasn't been doing too bad this episode. Quite a step up from the last one. Let's see. Holding pens sounds more dangerous considering the kind of game we're in, so let's get the danger out the way first. I doubt anyone's ever fought this before, but now I find myself genuinely considering who would win in a fight, the wretches or the grunts? My money's on the grunt for nostalgic reasons, but the wretch does have that hunchback of Notre. The man walks on 2 feet as well. Homie busted a move in here. He just came in here to show that he means business. He did not intend to hurt me in the slightest. I mean, I'm not surprised he can walk on 2 legs. It's just... why? What was the point of walking on 2 legs there? Looked cool though. Also, much like animals, their hostility is unpredictable. My man's there just completely ignored me. Ordinarily though, he would have charged me. And I don't want to downplay how impressive it is that Mendes has built all of this. Sure, Oswald had help with his countless pig army men, but what he's built here, as messed up as it is outstanding. and astounding. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. August 20th, 1899. I believe this is roughly exactly 60 years and 1 day after Daniel either succumbed to the shadow or defeated Alexander, depending on what ending you choose. Maybe even both, again, depending on what ending you choose. Took delivery of another batch of imbeciles today. They are the sorriest... what? Oh, I thought that was a U. It is actually an O. They are the sorriest specimens of humanity I've ever seen. No one asks where they go to. The authorities of Bedlam are simply happy to reduce the overcrowding in their teeming, stinking halls. We measure their skulls, check their teeth, we give them laudanum to pacify them. They wait in line, livestock, dull brown eyes and filthy skin. Many soil themselves as they wait. Into the manipulator they file in silence. I hear the hissing of gas. I hear the dull groaning as teeth are removed, as bones are reset. I hear the pigs are screaming. We have removed all the mirrors. After the process, it is their reflections that trouble them the most. Afterwards, when they sleep, I walk amongst them, my children. I whisper to their dreams, you are my children now. I have children once again, and your forms imperfect will be the engines to make my own blood flow again. As an extremely interesting note, once again we see his complete bitter hatred of humanity. But at the same time though, we also learn that, unfortunately, although their bodies are disfigured and changed into this pigman abomination, their brains still remain the same. I imagine it's the countless years of being a pigman that makes them what they are now, and has sent them mad. Have you ever heard or seen of a movie called, I believe it's called Walrus, just simply Walrus? Minor spoilers, but you know what, the best way to say this without spoiling anything is basically somebody ends up in a walrus suit. And it looks a lot like that, and it's kind of a similar thing. They're basically trapped in a pig suit, but much more messed up and like... I don't know how to say it exactly, but much more irreversible. It's interesting that he says we have removed all the mirrors. Who's we? I mean, obviously Oswald, but who else is with him that's partaking in this? Daniel? Is he up to his no good, like, acquaintance, partner in crime, apprentice nonsense? Jokes aside, we might just be like the pigs in him. I can't imagine anyone else that could be there with him. There is no reason to remove the mirrors to save them from the sight of themselves. I don't think them being sane, no, well, not sane, but I don't think their emotional state is relevant to what he's trying to do. So I do think that removing the mirrors was just a compassionate gesture. Gesture, is that how you say that? I always mix up gesture and jester. Gesture. Anyways, point is, it was, I do believe it was a act of kindness rather than simply just like a clinical attempt to make things go his way. I could be wrong though. I mean, maybe their emotional status and mental status is very important for the work he's doing, but I don't think it was. His goal isn't necessarily to make people suffer. In a way similar to Alexander, like Alexander's goal was to make people suffer for the sake of getting vitae so he could go back to his home. But Oswald, on the other hand here, his goal is not to make people suffer, but people suffer as a result of his actions, but it's not the intended effect. He wants strong workers that are loyal to help continue building his god, his machine. Them suffering is just an effect. Like, it's just a result of what he does, nothing more. It's so he will avoid it if he can. Because in the end, this machine is for the benefit of everyone. In his own way, he's trying to do his part in assisting humanity. Problem is I am always worried about what he considers a reasonable sacrifice.
Over there, place it in the corner. What? You think I speak Prussian? Do I look like an inbred hog, sir? Who gives a damn what it contains? Just set it down carefully and leave me be.
You're such a meanie pants, man. That door was 100% locked. I know without a doubt that that door was locked. Y'all saw me. I tried to open this door. Listen, man. We don't have to go about this like this. I'm serious. You better stop playing. Who put that there? I'm actually freaking out right now. Oh dear me. Fudge. No, this is a terrible hiding spot. What does this look like? The Dark Descent? Just looking away won't save me from the pig. I'm actually really scared. What is that? There's something behind there. No, there isn't. I didn't expect this game to be anywhere near as scary as The Dark Descent, but it's actually done a very good job of freaking me out. The main thing going through my mind right now is I just don't want to die. Because if I die, it's all to do again. Which naturally I will do that off screen. But, I don't want to suffer.
The lift has been sabotaged. You will have to find another way to the tunnels. Take care in this place, Mandus. It is the crucible of the evil that stalks these corridors.
Darn, that saboteur, he's back at it again. Those screams, man. I wonder why they're making those noises. Maybe they're in pain or something. Sounds pained to me. It could just be their normal, like, way of vocalizing. Maybe their own way of speaking. But maybe they're trying to communicate with each other from a distance. If not that, though, then maybe they're just in mental anguish. One thing's for certain is it's freaking me out. Do I run? Do I run? Tell me if I run. Children being used to create fear in a horror game doesn't usually scare me, but I was already on edge when that happened and it jump scared me a bit. Gosh, stop it. Little menace. I want you to be clear and concise when it's time for me to run, okay, game? More experiments with Compound X. Is this the professor from Powerpuff Girls? He's back at it again, creating abominations. More experiments with Compound X. Took the dog and injected it with... Not the dogs again, man. Took the dog and injected it with strychnine. After the expected convulsions and spasming, it died just after midnight. I immersed the body in a large tank of Compound X and introduced an alternating current via induction coil for a period of 3.5 minutes. Partial return was induced. However, damage incurred prior to death was retained upon revival, meaning the dog continued in the acute state of strychnine poisoning until I put a bullet in its skull. But drowning? Perhaps, yes. It is, after all, known to be the kindest of suicides. If one were to drown, replacing the fluid in the lungs with Compound X should theoretically be perfectly possible as a revival method. Fascinating. What is Compound X? I'd love to know. Obviously, it must be the Brennenberg compound, but what compound did Alexander use or create that brought the dead back to life? Or perhaps even Alexander didn't know it brought the dead back to life, and that's just something that our friend here found, that Oswald found. What the heck? What the what? Where's the door? I just turned around to try and close it, and it... Whoa, wow, okay, let's not talk about that. Wasn't there a door here too? What? Pig mask? I've had enough of this games. Let's just get out of here, man. That wasn't too bad. I'll put that one in later. Let's go to the low temperature storage first, which sounds...
It fell onto his hands and they eroded in front of me. To stumps. To stumps. Next time we will use an equal mix of infusion vitae and orgone disperser. No, just take him out. You can dump him in the river for all I care.
It is very interesting how much he just does not care at the same time. Like, he's doing all this for humanity, and he does seem to have some compassion, but... I don't know, just a complete disposal of that guy after he reduced his hands to stumps. It feels kind of... I don't know, maybe not contradictory. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is exactly, but it feels... wrong. Inflamed it is, burning it does, bleeding from each hole, fore and aft, leaking down my legs, blood and excrement, my lungs are in my vomit. I pass out clots of my organs now onto the filthy stone. Drink this, he says, and I did drink it. I did do that. Because of the changes, they ripple inner me. My teeth sneezed out and scatter like mice in the dark. I cannot find them all. Gathered what I can, pushed them back into my grey gums with my fingers, but the nails are all weepy and falling out. Drink it, he says. It'll help the running of the fever. Because not us all can take the change. On the other table, a beast under a blanket. I never wanted to see under that, but he drank it too. He passed it under the blanket, and I heard it drink. Dear God Almighty, how can a man crap so much blood and still live? Ay. I was too busy trying to find a substitute word, I didn't even know what was about to hit me. And still live? That just hit me twice. What he did to these people... Oh, gosh. Absolutely horrible. This is obviously a note from one of the pigmen. Although their bodies are decaying and being broken down and destroyed, their brain still remains active, intellectual. But one thing's very clear, both in the way they speak and the way they write. I do believe they are potentially losing mental maturity. For example, their English is dying down. For example, I is a lowercase I. This game I very much doubt would be failing on their English, so I suppose these people, maybe they're just forgetting to do it. But then again, considering what this guy's going through, that's the least of his concerns. He'll just write in lowercase I as much as he wants, just to make the writing faster. I like it. I like things like that. I love it. Oh no, sheepy boy! You may have noticed I was running. Oh wow, that actually damaged my throat a megaton. Oh my gosh, my lungs are in my vomit right now. I put too much force into that. Allow me to take a quick drink. Drink this, I said, and drink that I did. That was a catastrophic mistake. It made my throat worse. Anyways, now I'll be conversing with a sore throat, so you may notice I started running way before the pig spawned. That's because I did actually remember that chase scene because it left an impact on me. It's really good, and really scary. But fortunately, the pigmen are easy to run from. The only time you'll die from them is if they activate hacks, or just simply, like, sneak attack you. Oh yes, please, close those doors. Really, this is it? It's a clear liquid. Oh, don't let that break in your hands. I'm not a fan of the fact that the lights are flickering. Mandis. That doesn't even make any sense. If I remember correctly, the note probably stated something about if I could find it, I think it's probably this one. Probably stated something about right, yeah, the lamp. Burn, baby, burn. Why did it explode? Was that a part of the plan? Is that door actually closed? No, it's not.
Down here, Daddy.
this is just gonna straight up hurt. Might as well do it with style. I said with style, Oswald. I said with style, Oswald. What was that? This leaking world. And the rhododendron seem to be taking over the garden by the wall. I could dig them for you. No, no, get out. Get out of this house. You leave them be. I love how the machinery kind of looks like a heart. Like all of the pipes and stuff can be seen as arteries. It's really cool. That just sounded like straight up death. And yet he's fine. Wish I could say the same for these fellows. Do not tell me this is dung. If this is feces, then I'm not a happy man. Naturally, once bled, the product must be scalded. Oh yes, naturally. Dehead and scraped, ready for the gambroling and evisceration. For this, we pass them through the steam reservoir, which is kept at a constant temperature by passing excess high-pressure venting from the engines via the boiler and series of large copper pipes into a stone chamber just below the workhouse. At the center of the machine, there is a component that must be kept at a consistently low temperature, which controls operations of the processing of product throughout the system. Alongside this, refrigeration is of the utmost importance in retaining product quality, and this also requires heat to be removed from certain areas of the machine. Two problems are therefore combined into a single solution: the removal of heat from some areas and the requirements for increased heat in others. Conducting panels draw heat using the principles of convection, regulated by the boiler and sending freezing air along one set of pipes in one direction, and superheated vapors into another. I do wonder why all of these notes are strewed about in all these places. It feels really weird. Some of them make sense, some of them make no sense whatsoever. And by some I mean most make no sense whatsoever.
Isn't it dangerous allowing this filthy discharge to collect so close to the core?
We can use the flow to drive the turbines. There will always be a torrent of excreta flooding through these tunnels. We can use this to supplement the steam production and ensure constancy.
Dear God, the stench! This fecal matter is the true product of the age.
That it is, my friend. A Hebrew. I have the compound. It hisses and steams in its container like some living thing, which is jelly to burn and corrode. The container is made from glass. A strange choice, unless there is some particular reason why the metal that pervades everywhere else. Can it be brought into contact with this so-called Compound X? I should investigate for further clues. The flooded tunnels. My mysterious friend is correct. The sewers are indeed flooded. To descend further, I will have to find the local sluice pumps to drop the water levels. The smell is almost unbearable. It makes me gag. Why should the saboteur flooded the tunnels though? What did he hope to achieve? Excellent question, my dear fellow. I have another excellent question for you, my friend. Why is it lagging so much again? It just can't handle certain areas, man. Ah yes. That is indeed a water monster. But not the water monster. That is not a Kernick from the Dark Descent. But that is a type of water monster which I will delve into more later on. Also, fun fact, there is a reason why the pigs cause the lights to flicker. That is because I believe the pigs discharge a certain electric frequency that messes with the lights as a result of the fact that Mandus uses like electricity to bring them back to life alongside Compound X, as the pigs are people that were killed and then like disfigured to look like pigs, and I think pig parts are used as well, and then after that's done he brings them back to life. And using Compound X and electricity at the same time creates this magnetic field around them, I believe, which messes with electronics. I might as well spill the beans now. That fellow down there is a water monster and they are a pigman. Why are they invisible? I'll delve more into that later. But the reason you can tell it's a pigman is because they are emitting a magnetic frequency that the water monsters from that the Koenigs don't emit, because obviously they are a natural being, like a natural organic being from Alexander's universe, not an abomination brought back to life via the use of electricity. Several of the older forms have breached their containment area and escaped into the sewers. They remind me of my limitations. This is no Kelm, and I am no Eliyahu. Very sorry for messing that name up. At least, not quite yet. It is the heat generated from keeping the doorway between open that is to blame. We cannot simply pack them about with coolant as we do with the center where the doorway is. The later versions are kept safe by the freezing temperature of those towers. Up here, where the air is hot and fitted, they become overheated and their duality tears them asunder. As the other place flies from their cells and their vitae splinters, they live sporadically, torn from one world to the other, and back again in violent, unpredictable bursts. For a few seconds they are creatures of this world, then they are torn away and cease to have physical form. This vicious ripping back and forth between worlds has driven them quite insane. I've ordered the affected areas sealed, and I will not allow my workers to enter. These are damned places now. The abode of failed experiments, ghosts of fear and spite. And this note basically explains what they are. They are old versions of a certain pigman we'll see later on. Actually no, I think they're just older versions of the pigmen in general. And basically, something went wrong with whatever the heat does messes up with Compound X, I believe. And this causes them to be sent to Alexander's dimension and our dimension randomly, going back and forth repeatedly. And obviously, as he mentions, this has driven them insane. So they're the most dangerous, I would say. Not only for their ability to essentially teleport, but also because, well, they're like Marlowe from Justine, essentially. Please ring. No, it's probably gonna ring when I start leaving, isn't it? No? Okay. There we go.
Faster, Mandus. Drain the waters. Open the way to the bilge pumps. We are waiting for you.
Who is we, my man? Also, we see a lot of those Aztec statues. You know, the one of the Aztec building. I'm not sure what they're called exactly. He's no bother right now, I wouldn't believe. There's always a sewer levels in these games, and you know, I find myself having a mixed relationship with them. Sometimes I really like them, sometimes I don't. I feel like mazes can be used really well in horror games, and other times they can just be really bad. Not that this area is that much of a maze, though saying that, I've somehow ended up at the beginning. I think that's less of a problem with this area though, and more of just a problem with me. Oh dear, now I'm walking into walls too. I think I'm probably going the wrong way right now, aren't I? Oh no, this is excellent. This is indeed the right way. Most excellent. Wait a minute. Oh, this is the wrong way. I just backtracked. Oh dear me. Fortunately, I don't think I have to go down there, so let's carry on back, yeah? This feels like the place I need to go. Like one of these areas. Probably down here, I'd wager. It just looks like it's screaming, go down this way. I do hope, by the way, that Oswald is indeed Daniel's great... Oh, excuse me, I'll continue what I was saying after this.
But we can save them. We can set them free. We can replace a rotten old world with a clean new one. Mr. Mandus, you sound every bit the fanatic. Well, how can I be otherwise, Professor? How can any man of ethics simply stand by and watch this world drown in its own excrement? And your engineer, this visionary with whom you have embarked upon this course, does he share your views? Indeed he does. Indeed he does. The poor fellow has seen it all before. Now, this is not the first great civilization he has wept for. And so you set about things immediately upon your return? Naturally. These things cannot be left to rot upon the tree. And sponsors were remarkably easy to find. I tell you, Professor, a trail of greed brings rich men to your door like pigs to truffles.
I adore the way he speaks, man. Indeed he does, indeed he does! Naturally. He's got a beautiful way of words, man. But yes, this has helped me realize something. I don't think Oswald cares much for the world as it is right now. That's why he's able to, like, say to the man whose hands he disintegrated, he said, you can throw him into the river for all I care. He's able to act so cruel to him and just not care about him at all, simply because he's part of the world as it is right now. What Oswald is mostly compassionate for and cares for seems to be the new world, or maybe should I say Oswald only cares for the new world that he wants to bring about, but he's compassionate to the old world because the reason he wants this new world in the first place is because he does like the old world, if that makes sense. I do think he cares about people, and that's why he wants to create this new world. But I also think he's not afraid I also believe he's not afraid, though, to discard anything of this world, because it's this world he's trying to get rid of. And I said, "Look, my darlings, can you see it?" And they said, "Yes, Daddy, yes, we see it. A tall, weathered cap of a steep-sided pyramid. So like those of Egypt, stone falling away from the summit, vines crawling about, intertwining the stucco serpents that thrive about the steps, a palpable sense of stillness, a weight of forgotten. And this, here, this is where the king sat. And this is where the priests live. This house, this is the house of the dead. And here, where the sun strikes, this is where they threw the hearts that were not consumed. No, my darlings, they most certainly were not savages. You see, they believed that the sky could fall on their heads, and they truly, truly believed that offering blood was the only way of stopping this from happening. Perhaps, my darling, perhaps they were mistaken altogether. Or perhaps their tragedy was that they could simply not spill enough blood to prevent the sky from falling upon them. That is a really interesting line. Or perhaps their tragedy was they could not... Why can't I read this? Or perhaps their tragedy was they could simply not spill blood enough to prevent the sky from falling in upon them. It's a really interesting way to look at it. And also wrong, but it's also really interesting. But I do hope that Oswald is the great-grandson of Stop Distracting Mandis Post-Deliven. That's done it. Now I can enter the strange decontamination chamber once again and move onwards. Decontamination chamber, that's what I was trying to say last time. The waters are pushed back, making the way to the bilge clear, where I can divert the remainder of this filthy torrent back to the fames where it belongs and clear the path to the center of the machine. Now, as I was saying, I really do hope Oswald is the great-grandson.
You're so near now.
Did you need to interrupt me to say that? No, you did not. I do hope that Oswald is the great-grandson of Daniel, because not only is that thematic and really cool, but it's also just like... I don't know, just any connection to Daniel makes me happy. I really love Daniel as a character. Oh, that's what the main menu is. It's this area. Oh my goodness, we're here. This is one of my favorite areas of the game. For starters, that is a new enemy, the engineer. They act kind of like the brute of this game, I'm pretty sure. Goodness me, that engineer just abused the wretch. Poor thing. The engineers also primarily walk upright rather than on all fours. Or rather, the wretches walk on all threes. Here we can see they are having a banquet of what looks to be human flesh. Something really interesting is that they are sitting in chairs still. At least that one is. That one's just standing though, I'm pretty sure. Maybe each one has a different sense of civilization. Some may be more feral than others. And the music that's playing is really nice, but also kind of ominous. But I would say it's more relaxing than ominous. Now let's see what Oswald has to say about this. A nest of wretches. Dear God, a whole nest of these foul creatures. No mind. My instincts have drawn me thus far, and I am sure somewhere in this dank complex is a means of further descent. I will not see their faces as they go about their dark business. And yet, as I watch them sleep and eat and play, they are so very human, so very childlike. And I will not think of what I have seen, of the chairs and the cages. I'll not think of how such monsters may be sculpted. Unfortunately, you will inevitably remember how you sculpted them, my friend. It's very difficult to see, but I believe this one is playing with kids' letterboxes, which is very cute and also quite sad for some reason. I don't know why. Perhaps it's because something so childlike and seemingly innocent has been put through something so horrible. Although I know for sure that they were, I believe, but they were obviously adult men before this happened, fully mature men. So perhaps the process just removes their maturity. Like maybe I kind of mentioned this earlier, but maybe it like, I don't know how you would say it, I've forgotten. Not dematurizes, I don't even know if that's an actual word. I do know that animals, however, often usually have like the mental maturity of a 7-year-old, I believe. So it makes sense when animalizing these people that they would go back to the state of mind as when they were a child. My body kind of froze up there for a moment. Since you don't have insanity like you did in The Dark Descent, they had to find a different way to make you not look at the monsters. And I'm assuming that the flashing light is their way of doing that. Man, I feel pity for them. If that's even the right word. I feel very bad for them. It's such a grisly, grotesque thing. The monsters in this game are a lot better than the ones in The Dark Descent, I think. And I love the ones in The Dark Descent, so that's saying something. But they bring a large variety of emotions. And their design is incredible. Sound design and visual design is all incredible. And the story behind them is incredible too. I'm not sure what that one is doing. It's either eating or crying. I don't know. I don't even know if these people can comprehend the state they're in anymore. Or if they even remember anything. Maybe some of them remember more than others and some comprehend more than others. Oh, yes, I've already been here. This area is some of the best that A Machine for Pigs has to offer, in my opinion. Very skillful ladder climbing on my part. Oh, for pity's sake. Oh no! I almost died. Imagine if I actually died there. No more sick ladder climbing tricks, just use them normally, please. From tide to spine, he placed his head in the vice and spun the wheel until the skull cracked and the forts leaked onto his shoes. It relieved the pressure for a while, but it soon returned. I'll be ending this here now. We'll continue here next time, but before I end, I must say, this game's story is getting better and better, and reliving it has been amazing. Very excited to continue this next time. I'm gonna be thinking more about the pigmen, the wretches, the engineers, and the secret enemy we'll see later on, that we've kind of already seen in this episode. There's a lot to talk about with them, and just a lot to talk about with this game in general. I'm having a lot of fun. So, thank you as always so much for watching. It means a lot to me. I hope you have all had a good day, and I hope you all have a good night. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for next time. Bye for now.